So here we are, Puerto Lindo. Working.
This is always the worst part, is uploading the video.
Why?
Because internet always sucks everywhere around here. Panama. I'm just waiting. It's gonna be like 2 hours to upload it. In Cuba it took me 6. That's crazy.
But aren't you excited, James?
I'm excited. This is a good video. I'm really excited.
And proud, huh? I'm very proud too.
What's up, YouTubes? So, I've decided to change up my channel a little bit and do weekly videos like everybody's asking for. But instead of doing those episodic videos every week, I'm gonna space those out into bi-monthly. So every 2 weeks I'll put out an episode, and every week I'll do something current. More like the classic sailing channel kind of thing. I think this will give a good dichotomy to the channel. The problem is, if I put out the episodes every week, I'm gonna work myself to death. They take me like 50 hours to make, so I think I'll just do those every other week. So this week I took the bus in Panama to the store. So you know you're in trouble when you're on a school bus in Panama. It starts raining. The driver hasn't slowed down yet. The wheels are squealing. And the girl that convinced you to get on the bus says, "Oh, I hope we're on the right one."
I do.
Yeah, real rich sure. And got kicked out of the store for videotaping. I just got reprimanded by a security guard. He said he would throw me out if I didn't turn this off.
Really?
Yeah.
I see you listen quite well.
I do. And the buses were the old American school buses from when I was in primary school. I think this is how the bus driver at my school when I was in 6th grade wanted to drive. And they paint them with murals and have tassels flying all over them. They're a trip. And they drive them like their wheels are gonna fall off. Any last words?
Mom and Dad, I love you if I die.
And then I came back from Sabanitas and helped my buddy replace his head gasket on his Lagoon 380. It's a 3-cylinder diesel Volvo Penta. If you guys don't like technical videos, that's going to be most of the video. So skip this one, wait till next week, and I'll put out an episode. If you do like that kind of stuff, or you just want to see what it's about, you know, skim through it and check it out. So Marissa, will you explain to me why you convinced me to go on this motherfucking death trap?
I convinced you to go on this death trap because I didn't want to do this shit alone. Can I say shit?
Yeah, I edited it out. So thanks for saying it twice, because now I have twice the work.
Because if you look at what's going on, it's amazing, but also really, really scary. I'm afraid for my life right now.
Yeah, the wheels are screeching, and I think I'm gonna die. This is an awesome bus.
It's such an awesome bus.
And it was exactly the same. I had reggaeton playing when I was going to school when I was 6. The saga continues. Now there's a very, very packed bus. And that noise is actually not scaring me anymore.
The problems have gotten bigger.
So we're at the supermarket in Sabanitas, Panama. I just spent an hour and a half on the bus to use the ATM. That's the only thing I have to do. Alright, I've tried to show you what the supermarkets are like in any country I go to. So here's Sabanitas, Panama.
Well, it's just me.
Okay. Rule number 1. Don't fart into the engine room. It becomes a death trap. I've learned that on a catamaran engine room like this, top loading. I think farts are heavier than air. I'd like to look that up on Google. What's up, YouTubes? We're replacing a head gasket on my buddy Nate's boat. So we're gonna try to save him some money, and we're gonna do this ourselves. It's almost the same with every engine. So this one's a Volvo 3-cylinder, but Yanmar's basically the same thing. You get to meet some really cool people today and learn how to take a head gasket apart. So here's Nate.
Hey guys, what's up?
He's got a Lagoon 380. He's a bad motherfucker. And there's his engine. Oh, you can't really see it that well. So the engine access on these things is amazing.
Yep.
You're not going to get this with a monohull. Catamaran's the way to go. I'm gonna tell you guys what's going through my mind. This is the very, very, very beginning of this job, and when you're doing a head gasket, this is what you need to find. I'm not a professional mechanic, but I've done this before. You need to find where the head, the big head part, separates from the block part. I found it here. It's just got a lot of paint on it. You see that little groove? Right there, all along the head, it separates down there. So now you need to look at the engine and say, okay, if I'm going to take that big ass piece off, what else has to come off? And we got to take the valve cover off to access the bolts that are in the head. This bolt and this bolt will allow me to take the valve cover off. That's this seam right here, this seam. All right, so we take that off, and then we're going to take this head off with the heat exchanger as one piece. So this is a glow plug. I know it's a glow plug now because Nate just told me that, but I didn't know that before. I just thought it was some kind of sensor. So it doesn't matter. We just have to take this wire off. This is a oil pressure sender. Doesn't matter. It's a sensor. Take that wire off. Take this wire off. Get the wires out of the way. You can see that the seam here is going along, and it's going to be part of this as part of the head. So this belt has to come off. So that means that we have to undo the alternator. That's almost in every job on an engine. You just undo a couple bolts, slide the alternator up the bracket, and then take the belt off. It's really easy. And then this is going to have to come off too. This is your cooling. This is the heat exchanger and water reservoir. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's the water reservoir. The heat exchanger's on the inside there. It's those straws, you know. I mean, you've seen that.
Okay, so it's one piece on this engine. That's kind of cool.
Well, the interior part of this is it's a separate thing. The heat exchanger itself is a separate thing. So this is like the heat exchanger housing, and this is where the cooling water goes. But then the exchanger itself, it's only connected via these. You know, like the outside of the heat exchanger itself, which is like long straws, is connected here. And that's the thing that keeps the seawater going.
So what happens on a diesel, usually on a boat, is you have seawater coming in from the outside and going through straws, and then it's on the inside of the straws. Like imagine a whole bunch of straws. If you hold them in your mouth, how many straws can you fit in your mouth? That's kind of what a heat exchanger looks like. And then you have fresh water going over the top of the cold straws, and it cools down the fresh water. So you have a closed loop freshwater system. That way the seawater doesn't hit the engine block, and then you have a constantly cold seawater system going through. It's pretty ingenious actually, and works really well as long as the pumping the seawater is good.
The best one is a keel-cooled system. You know, in a perfect world, you have a keel-cooled system, and then you don't have seawater anywhere near your boat at all. But a keel-cooled system, they just don't put those in anything. In these small boats, they just don't have a keel cooler.
So that's what we need to do. It's really not rocket science, guys. Just take off everything that's in the way and get the head bolts off and take the head off. That's it. Here's the tricks of the trade that you guys really need to know. A lot of people don't, and that's how they break shit. So instead of using one of these, which by the way, if you guys can ever find these diamond crescent wrenches, they're the best crescent wrenches. They don't sell them anymore, but you can get them on eBay. You want to use open end or box end wrenches is what they're called. And especially on sensitive things like fuel injector pumps, very expensive. Injectors, very expensive. If you can, use two. So look, I've got one nut here that I want to take off. Instead of using this like a monkey and just putting it on and wrenching on it, which has the possibility of turning the entire injector and bending these lines and possibly breaking them, and they're a pain in the ass to fix. I put one on the bottom nut, one on the top nut, and then with equal pressure on both, I open it. Okay? We're making some progress on the engine. We've got the cooling lines all off, and we've got the electrical connections and the fuel lines off. Now, one really good thing that I forgot to mention to you guys is if this is your first time or second time or 10th time and you're just really forgetful, take a camera and take pictures of every single thing as it was before you did this process. Or every time you take a bolt off, take a picture of it before and after. That way you can go back through, and I've had to do it, and be like, where did this bolt go? Or which wire went where? You know, where did this red wire go? Was it the black wire that went there? Was it the red one? That's a good idea. you don't want to mess with the injector pump if you can help it. Don't, just take the outside lines off and don't mess with it. Because it's very, there's like a, I think the guys that do these have like a $7,000 bench that they hook it up to, and it's really exact, and if one little thing gets tweaked, it's just better not to fuck with it. As with anything on a boat, you hit a little snag along the way. If you can see down here, there's 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 head bolts that we have to take off. But the problem is the rockers are in the way of these head bolts. Maybe you can do it with an open end wrench, but the problem is you can't get a torque wrench on there afterwards. So what we did was we went to the book and actually read it, and they said, yeah, take this whole rocker mechanism off. And that way we can pull the pull rods out too. They call them pull rods in this engine, but I call them push rods. So watch me do this. I'm going to take this rocker mechanism off. Oh, come on, man. Really? It's going to be a bastard, huh? I'm just going to simply take this off. Alright, maybe we need to read the book again. Yeah.
There it is.
Here's the rocker mechanism. Be careful you don't lose any of these little rocker arms. They slide off and on and off of here. Oh, they don't, because you got nuts on there, but some of them do. If you ever do in a different diesel engine. And then these are called pull rods on this engine. I call them push rods because that's what they are. You want to take all those out, and you want to make sure they go back in the same exact spot, okay? So what you do is you lay them out on a table, and you take a flat marker and you say 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you mark 1, 2, 3, 4 on here somewhere. That way you never screw it up, okay?
One moment, let me get focused here.
Can you see the hole here drilled into the side of this thing?
Yep, clearly.
And the hole here drilled into the tip?
Clearly.
Okay, cool. So this came out of here, and this is one of those hard oil lines I was talking about. This is a hard fuel line, this is a hard oil line. They look the same. They're the same diameter, but one is filled with oil and one is filled with gas or diesel. So the reason I showed you that is these bolts are not the same as these bolts or any other bolt because they have holes in them. They're very expensive and they can't be interchanged. So make sure that you know the difference when you take those bolts out, okay?
Okay, now you're filming.
Ready?
Yep.
Careful, she's dripping.
There we go, dude. Heads off.
And I need a
Rag?
You see all this carbon buildup in the second cylinder here. This one, that's how it's supposed to look. This one, definitely messed up. This one is a little white, which means it's not getting enough, or it's burning hot. But this one's got so much carbon buildup, it's either oil leaking into there from the oil passageway under the cylinder, which that would cause black smoke, and that's not happening in this instance, or it's possible that the injector's leaking, or maybe the valves aren't seating correctly. But this is a lot of buildup, and this alone would maybe cause the exhaust valve not to seat. So I just don't know exactly what it is, and I don't have the tools to do this operation to tell you whether it or not. And we have a good mechanic right down, 10-minute dinghy right away. So we're trying to get a hold of him, and we're going to bring this to him. And next week I'm going to have the finished product of what happened with this thing. But we got it out, didn't break anything, and it's ready to be serviced. It's not the original problem we thought it was. So I'd like to get a professional with professional tools to see if possibly the valves need reground, or maybe the injectors need redone. That's something that you need a bench for. Alrighty, till next time.